The Trump administration is proposing changes to Social Security disability benefits that will make access to those benefits significantly harder, according to new reporting from ProPublica. One change would be to update the job listings used to determine whether a worker has the skills to do another less strenuous job instead of receiving assistance. Another change would almost entirely remove age as a criteria for eligibility, putting the applications of older workers in the same pool as younger workers. If adopted in its current form, ProPublica reports that as many as 1.5 million Americans could lose eligibility over the next decade, and workers in Republican-led states will be hit the hardest. Joining us now, ProPublica reporter Eli Hager. Eli, thanks for joining us. Let's start small. Tell me about one of the people you interviewed for this story and how these new changes might affect him.
Sure. I interviewed somebody named Christopher Tincher, who's a 55-year-old in rural Arkansas. He's been a working person his whole life. He started out his working career working in coal mines in Kentucky and West Virginia. And he's worked at Walmart, and he's been a long-distance trucker and all these kinds of jobs. He eventually lost, through some of his work that he was doing at a wastewater facility, he lost his leg and is probably going to have to lose his other leg. And he qualified for disability benefits in part because he's 55, and eligibility is in the current system increases when you're in your 50s. It makes it a little bit easier to get benefits because you've been through that lifetime of work, and it's harder for you to switch careers at that point. So the Trump rule would change that system of eligibility increasing by age.
So if there was also a less strenuous job eligibility requirement, would Tincher then have to apply for jobs that would be, I guess, less of a burden on him in terms of mobility?
Right. So two things would happen. Number one, somebody like him, I can't say what would happen exactly in his case, but somebody like him with that experience, their age would no longer be taken into account. So they would be treated the same in the disability adjudication as a 20-something. And then secondly, the jobs listings would be updated. So it would show that, say in his area of Arkansas, there is this sort of low-skilled, more sedentary job behind a computer that maybe he could do. In his view and the view of disability advocates and union leaders, that sort of pulls the rug out from working class people who have only done a certain type of manual job their whole life, whether it's in coal mining or logging or construction work. And those are the skills that they have. And now they're being told that actually the system is changing now that they've reached their most medically vulnerable years, and that they're going to have to learn how to do something on a computer instead of getting these disability benefits that they paid into the system for.
Who are the proponents of this?
So it's actually something that originated in the first Trump term, something that some Social Security officials in the first Trump administrations were pushing. They didn't get it done before 2020 and when President Trump lost that election. And then it's been brought back this year and pushed, including by Russell Vought, the head of the Office of Management and Budget, who was one of the originators of Project 2025. And now it's being pushed, and it's sort of on the regulatory timeline, which can take a while, but one federal bulletin says it could be published by December.
So when the Trump administration has talked about cutting programs, they haven't done it with this one specifically, but largely what they do is they say these are Democrats that are taking advantage of the system, or that's what they imply. You write in your article that this is going to affect red states and Donald Trump's own voters, some of his most loyal voters, in fact. How are you able to make that determination?
Right. So, yeah, it's sort of interesting that this is being done more quietly. Obviously, we have all this coverage of the cutoffs that are happening to SNAP, and we know that work requirements are going to be added to Medicaid through the what we call the One Big Beautiful Bill, and those all happen very quickly. And as you said, the Trump administration portrayed those as being relied on by immigrants and Democrats and so on. But this is being done quietly through the regulatory process. And ProPublica, we had to source within the Social Security Administration to know know exactly what was happening. And the way that we're able to tell that it would affect these workers, especially in southern states, is we just look at who relies on disability benefits by state. So in the map that you're showing there, West Virginia, Arkansas, Kentucky, and also Mississippi and Alabama have much higher proportions of their residents relying on disability benefits. And the people who would specifically be affected by these rules would be 50 to 60-year-olds who have worked in manual labor jobs, don't have a high school or college education, and so therefore they'd be affected by the situation of having to find a new job behind a computer or possibly driving for Uber or DoorDash or something like that.
And those are predominantly Trump voters in that demographic in those places?
Yeah, I mean, as we've analyzed over the years, in West Virginia, Arkansas, Kentucky, Mississippi, Alabama are overwhelmingly voted for President Trump. And then within that, working class voters who are 50 to 60 years old have been disproportionately Trump voters.
All right, Eli Hager. Eli, thank you so much for bringing us this reporting. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.